Welcome back. We got another great meeting of the minds lined up with you. Today we have a former Virginia Tech pitcher and played a little bit with the Braves, Mr. Patrick Scoggin. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. I am ready for July 4th, but I'm excited to talk to you today.
Right. I appreciate the opportunity to talk the day before. Got the kids to sleep, so I can focus on today's task. Tell us a little bit about what you do now, as far as how you're involved in baseball, or maybe a little bit about your baseball career.
Yeah, so like you said, I played at Virginia Tech. After my junior year, I actually signed with the Braves as a free agent. Played about 3 years in their minor league organization, made it all the way up to about high A. After that, kind of came back. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, so I kind of came back to my hometown. I was one of those guys that said, once my career was over with, that I was going to stay away from the game for a while and, kind of do my own thing. And within a couple of months, I was right back to coaching. I
Wow.
started out just, coaching a middle school team, started doing some lessons, and it just kind of grew from there. So that was about 5-6 years ago. I do, it's hard to put an exact number on it depending on, what month they're in, but I do a lot of lessons, individually in the local area. And then I have been coaching with the Canes baseball organization for about the past 3 years as well. So I do the older levels, 17U. Really just try and use, my background to help these guys, not just, we always say, not just become, the best baseball players that they can be, but become the best young men they can be. So I really enjoy it. And like I said, I have truly a great time doing it.
That's awesome. And it's funny how you give up. You have that in your mind, like, hey, I'm never going to get back in baseball for a long time, and then it's just in your blood, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, I feel like I was almost trying to push away something that I knew was there. I feel like there's no way I would have been able to make it as far in my baseball career as I did without, having those. It didn't even have to be, older coaches. It could be, guys that were, seniors when I was a freshman in high school, or, the seniors in college when I was a freshman, just trying to get advice and have good role models is what, helped me progress and develop. And if I can do that for these young kids, then, I feel like I'm paying the game of baseball back for what it did to me.
That's right. I've always heard that you got to give back to the game. It gives you so much.
I
That's
mean,
awesome.
yeah, you do. So I really, it's hard to see myself now, not being involved with baseball for how, till I can't do it anymore.
Right, right. You talked about the one-on-one sessions, and that's kind of what we do. We work with clients, athletes of all ages, all backgrounds, one-on-one on the mental side of sport. It's important. It just they get more out of it when it's one-on-one. Wouldn't you say that when you do your instructions?
Yeah, I mean, in a team setting, you can only be so, detailed and, really specific to that individual. When I can, get these guys, so I was a pitcher, when I can get these guys, in a one-on-one session and have that consistency, 1 month to 2 months, 2 months to 6 months, and then, I take guys from 13 all the way until, they finish playing college, and just building that consistency and building that routine and being able to have that, individual instruction, makes a big difference.
No doubt about it. That's great. So you've played at a very high level. You're coaching at a high level. I guess the first question I want to ask you is, what's the difference between player Patrick and Coach Patrick?
um, I would say that there's a lot of similarities, to be honest. I'm one of those guys that, I feel like if you met me now or if you met me 10 years ago, yeah, I've definitely changed in terms of my life situation, but my mentality and personality's kind of always been the same. I'm an old school guy, kind of hard nosed. At the end of the day, I could care less, your talent level. All that I ask is that you go out there and give it 110%. Because as a player, as a coach, I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to leave it out there on the field for you. As a player, I've, and I'm sure a lot of people will say this, but it's hard for me to find somebody that's as competitive as me.
Right.
I was a football player, basketball player. I have a young daughter now. Me and my fiance. I don't like to lose in board games. I don't like to lose. Playing Marco Polo in the pool. I mean, that's just how I was born. That's how I was kind of brought up.
Right.
So that's just really what I try and instill in my kids because, whether you're 18 or 30 or, whenever, your baseball career is going to come to an end one day. And, those kind of personality skills and traits are what you're going to have to fall back on to, still be successful, guy. So,
Yeah.
like I said, I just try and keep it simple, and I go out there and, just bust my butt every day, whatever it is I'm doing.
Right. You talked about what did you just talk about that I had? It was good stuff. You said I totally lost it. I'm a blanket. So obviously I can edit this. So let me get it back. I wrote it down. Da, 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 da. That mentality part. Okay. What is that mentality? We talk to athletes all the time. We want to look at the mindset aspect. How much do you think mentality plays in baseball? What percent?
Oh, I mean, I'd say at least, 90% and above, and I'm speaking, and that might be a high number, but I'm speaking more of once you truly get to that, whether it's, you're playing on a very competitive, travel team at that, upper level, high school, or especially once you get into college and the pros. I mean, you're going to pretty much be around the same type of people that have the same talent level as you. And that mental approach and, just how you're able, I always talk to my guys about that mental maturity, how you're able to, really use that in your game is what's going to make the differences.
Nice, nice. And we always ask the next question. We know how to train the physical parts of sport, how do you get stronger, how do you get faster. But when that number's so high, you say 90%, the question I have to come back with is, what do you do to train that? Is there something that you put into place,
Yeah.
or you did at Virginia Tech, or you do now?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, throughout my career, I've had different coaches and instructors that have, given me things that, some I've liked, some I didn't like, some I would, stand by, till the end. One specific thing I remember that my pitching coach did at Virginia Tech, shout out to Dave Turgeon, that was my guy. He really, and then this is kind of, if you know a lot about Greg Maddux, but, the night before a game, night before a scrimmage, bullpen session, whatever it is, if I'm getting ready to take the mound, to truly just take some time to myself, close your eyes, and visualize yourself executing those pitches. Going through the hitters 1 through 9, knowing your scouting report. All right, if I'm going to start the leadoff guy off with a fastball and it's a strike, what am I coming back with? Or if I throw a ball, what am I coming back with there? And to kind of almost play the game in your head before you actually go out there and physically do it, to me made a big difference as I got older. So that was just one specific thing, that I learned in college that definitely I try and stress to my guys. In terms of, when I give instruction, whether it's in a team or individual setting, I'm always trying to ask pitchers, there's never a bad pitch. To me, I want to know, why did you throw that, or why did we miss here? There's always a reason behind it. Yeah, sometimes it's physical, but for the most part, to me, you get to a certain age in pitching, and then, it's all mentality. I try and instill that, kind of borderline of confident, cocky, where, yeah, you want to be a great teammate, a great person outside the field. But when you step on that mound, you got to be a bulldog. You got to look. I don't care if it's, Derek Jeter, Mike Trout, or, your grandma standing in the box. You got to have that mentality like, I'm that dude, and, here it comes. And I truly try, like I tell all my guys, I don't care if you throw 100 or 75, if you can go out there and execute pitches, you can be successful. So just trying to instill that confidence in my guys, regardless of their talent level.
Yeah, I love the Bulldog mention, and I also look at Greg Max. Funny story. My son's name is Maddox, so I'm kind of
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
yeah. I spelled it just like his last name. So,
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it.
favorite pitcher ever. I'd say, even though he didn't throw 87 miles an hour,
Yeah,
he paint it, man. Right?
I think he's one of the still probably most underappreciated guys, because now anybody all they care about is velocity.
Right.
But you go back and watch some classic Greg Maddux games. I mean, that's truly pitching right there.
No
You
doubt.
know, I mean, I love him for sure.
Heck yeah. Well, let's talk about Greg Max for a second. Mad Dog. That's an alter ego, right? Like he gets into this.
Yeah,
He looks like a librarian or a golfer or something. But when you meet him on the mound, he's locked into a different, I guess, hemisphere. Would you say you changed when you got on the mound, or are you always the same?
yeah.
You have alter ego?
Yeah, I mean, I think off the field, I'm one of those guys. I'm pretty laid back. I like to keep, the morale up. I'm friends with everybody. I was always just, trying to be, a part of the team. And, like I said, we're all, together. When and I was, I love my family. Like I said, I'm a father now. So, I'm, obviously loving and caring to my little girl. But when I used to step on that mound, and it was game time, I was a different person, and to me, you hear that saying, flip the switch.
Mm.
Some guys can do it, some guys can't. To me, it wasn't so much, I'm transforming into something. To me, it was just my mental approach. Like, I knew if it was game day for me, what my job was that day, and I wasn't going to let, anything, distract me or get in the way of trying to accomplish, my goal that day. So, and I think if you can have that mentality, not just on game day, but on your conditioning days, on your running days, on your bullpen days, and it's a grind for sure. But if you can have that mentality, day in and day out, it's going to make a huge difference in the end.
Absolutely. I love the switch. We talk about the switch. We teach a whole session, like a whole unit on the switch. In all sports, not just wrestling, not just baseball.
Yeah.
You can do that in any. You're about to serve in volleyball. You can hit a switch today. I'm a new person. Was there anything that you did physically or mentally as a routine to flip the switch, or was it just game day? It was like, all right, that's the switch.
I was a guy, I wasn't, the most chatty person on game day. I wasn't really talking to anybody unless it was my catcher. Now if we're playing a 7 o'clock game, I'm not going to wake up at breakfast and, be a grouch. But, as we kind of, as I got into my pregame routine, probably, 2-3 hours before actual game time, I didn't need anybody to be around me. Obviously, you're working with your coach during, your physical stuff, throwing and all that. But, unless it was me and my catcher talking about the game, I really just tried to lock in and, kind of go through like what we talked about earlier, look at the lineup again, review my scouting report, and really try and visualize what I was going to go out there and do that night. And then, once, you got done with your stretching and your bullpen and all that stuff, then I just tried to honestly clear everything and just go out there and pitch. Like I said, not try and be too technical, things like that. I'd done all, I'm a big believer that if you do, all of your pre-work, then the game should be easy.
Right.
If so, and now granted, don't get me wrong, I went out there and, got hit around a lot of times, but, I think, there's a lesson in that too, where just because you might not have had, good results doesn't mean that you have to change, your routine so much, because you got to have that consistency. There's going to be good days and there's going to be bad days.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great, man. Getting back onto the field now since the COVID, how's it been? How's the morale? How's the kids? How's everybody acting?
I think the kids really don't like. I think if you like told them, what had been going on the last couple of months, they wouldn't even, okay, big deal. They're just excited to get out there on the field again and play the game. I think parents, coaches, but specifically, organizations, people that run tournaments, these fields, I think they were probably having, more of the stress than anybody.
Right.
I'm the first one to say I'm not a doctor. I know everybody hears 20 different things about how this whole COVID is gonna, what's already taken place and what's gonna take place. I'm just if you're able to get out there and do it safely, do it. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, then I respect it, and there's nothing against it. So I think everybody kind of has their different viewpoints on it, but from a kid's perspective, I think they go out there and they play like nothing's even happening.
Right.
So, and I think when you're coaching, I think that you almost have that same mentality. I think no matter what's going on in your life, those 2 hours on the field or whatever it is, you kind of get away and you're focused on that, and then once it's over, you got to deal with the real world. So
Right. Right. It's that's awesome. You said that. It's like you're totally focused that you forget about it. You forget about COVID.
yeah.
Forget about the everything else that's going on in our country. And it's a little bit of peace out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's been nice for some people to kind of slow down, and I think the game of baseball is great, but sometimes you do need a break from it. And I know that obviously this happened at kind of like the start of a lot of seasons, whether it's middle school, high school, some travel. But I think for some guys it could have been a blessing in disguise. They play so much baseball nowadays, it's different than even 10 years ago, but especially 20, 30 years ago. So I think these guys get plenty of reps, And to me, my biggest concern when everybody came back was just making sure everybody stayed healthy.
Right.
Not coming back and, going out there and throwing 100 pitches your first game, or going out there and trying to play 3 games in a day, because you just can't do it. And that's the same struggles and concerns that, the big leagues are having right now. So we'll kind of see what takes place, as it continues to go. But, I'm really one of those people that just kind of take it day by day. And, I'm not in control of it, so whatever happens, happens. I just got to, deal with it.
Yeah, we want to look at things positively, but we also want to think about the things we can control. And with this,
Obviously, I want everybody staying safe, and and if any families, have been personally affected by, my thoughts and prayers are with them, because I know this is a serious thing, and baseball comes secondary to that. So, like I said, we just got to take it day by day, and go from there.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Would you say the kids are a little more rusty? I mean, is the timing off hitting and pitching a little wild?
Yeah. I think, these first, this first month or so that they've been back, you can definitely see that there's been some rust. There's been some, yeah, I've been still training maybe and throwing, bullpens or, hitting BP, but, that game action is something that you can't simulate. So, I think kids are, especially, the young guys, they jump back in there, maybe after a week or two, they're kind of back and rolling. I think the biggest adjustment is, like I said, for the parents and the coaches and kind of all the guidelines that have been put, in place now, worrying about extra stuff that doesn't really have to deal with baseball. That's the hard part, I think, but I think from the kids, yeah, there's definitely some rust coming back, but now they're kind of, right back with it. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I figured it would take a couple months to get the game reps better.
And like I said, who knows what's going to happen this fall? My biggest concern through all this, and who I truly feel for is, some of these college seniors, high school seniors.
You good? All right, so we're wrapping it up here. I hate all these difficulties that happen. I appreciate your time. If I can do anything for you, Patrick, at Baseball Mindset, please feel free to let me know, because after talking with you, I know that you would agree that mindset makes a difference. Would you say that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, mindset is such a crucial part of the game, especially the older that you get. So, anything that, a player can do to get that, advantage and, really start to work on that part of his game makes a huge difference.
Awesome. I just gave you a follow on Instagram from both my account and the Baseball Mindset account. We'll give you a shout out, throw it together, and put it out on social media in the next couple of days. And I really appreciate your time, bud.
Yes, sir. No problem, man. I really like what y'all are doing, and I hope that I can just be a part of it. And thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
All right. Thank you, Pat.